Learners, here I am PSK. Today we are going to learn about phrases and clauses. Let's start learning about phrases and clauses. Just you are looking here about the phrase. Here I'm gonna tell you the definition of phrase. What is definition and how will we use them in the sentences. Now let's look at them and continue watching this video to understand better about this phrase. A phrase is a group of words that stands together as a single grammatical unit. A phrase does not contain a subject and verb and consequently cannot convey a complete thought. It means phrase is a group of words. It has no any subject and verb, and even it does not make meaningful sentence is called phrase. It means this is one kind of words. More than 2 3 words may be there, but all those words will not make complete meaningful sentence. So hopefully that you understood how will we use this phrase. And now let's understand more about it. A phrase is a small group of words that form a meaningful unit within a clause. It means it is telling that in a small sentence, in a small group of words, in clause sentences, you can use phrase, then it create and it give or it conveys something meaning in the sentence. So then that will be meaningful sentence. So if you want to use it alone or in some words, then it will not convey meaningful sentence, meaningful thought. So now let's see here some examples to understand better about it. Here you're looking some examples. The brown hat blowing away in the wind. So these are examples that you are looking here. If you use them, if you are speaking or writing alone without any other word, any other words, then will they make complete sense of the sentence? No, they are not making meaningful sentence. So that's why those are phrase. It means phrase does not complete sense of the sentence, give that do not give meaningful sentence. And now let's look at here some things that you are looking here. Here you will underline the phrases in the following sentences. Now let's practice them and let's understand how will we find and what are phrases that we will find from all of those sentences. Now hopefully that you are understanding English language. If you are not understanding, then you can comment in comment box, then we will know and we will understand. How many students do the need and they want explanation in Hindi as well, then we will continue explaining in Hindi as well. Later on we will create another video in Hindi language as well. Now let's see here first one example that you're looking. The lion is an animal of great strength. So here find out a phrase. The lion is an animal of great strength. Of great strength, that is a phrase. Number two, a homeless child has to spend his days in great misery. So, a homeless child has to spend his days. So, still here, that is a clause, and later on, that extra words are given. Those are in great misery. In great misery, that will come in praise. In another sentence, he listened to me with great attention. So, here, what are extra words? Those extra words are phrases that you are looking with great attention. With great attention. So, these are phrases. Now, let's see another one. Do not play with naughty boys. So, in this, with naughty boys, that is phrase. Another one, Calcutta is a city of thick population. Of thick population, that is a phrase. Number 6, he is full of courage that will come in phrase. Another sentence, she was wearing a bangle made of gold that will come in phrase. Number 8, an old man lived beside the lake. Okay, now you will tell me, it is your turn. Okay, now tell me, an old man, think, and okay, I think you thought and you understood the lake will come. It means beside the lake. Beside the lake will come as a phrase. Number 9, the boy stood on the burning deck. So what will come here on the burning deck? That is a phrase. He wants to go home. He wants to go home. Go home. That to go home. That is phrase. Number 11. Do you enjoy reading this book? So that will come this book in that phrase. Number 12. The wicked vizier loves getting people into trouble. So here, what is phrase are given here? Let's look at them. Getting loves getting people into trouble. So that getting people into trouble, that is a phrase. Number 13, he speaks like a born leader. A born leader. So like that you can use it as a phrase. Number 14, I have forgotten how to play this game. I have how to play this game, that is a phrase. Now let's say another one. He succeeded in the long run. So in the long run, that will come in phrase. Now let's look at all answers for these all. So now I think you understood that what are those phrases. Now let's look at them and recorrected them if you find any mistakes. Lion is an animal of great strength. It means of great strength, that is a phrase. A homeless child has to spend his days in great misery. In great misery, that is a phrase. And in third sentence, he listened to me with great attention. That with great attention, that is a phrase. Number 4, do not play with naughty boys. With naughty boys, that is a phrase. Number 5, Calcutta is a city of thick population. Of thick population, that will be mentioned as a phrase. And number 6, he is full of courage. Full of courage is a phrase. Number 7, she was wearing a bangle made of gold. Made of gold, that is phrase. So hopefully that you can check in and you can see all we have done correctly. Now let's see, we will study now about clauses. A clause is a group of words that has a subject and a predicate. So let me explain here the definition for clause. What is definition of clause? Clause is a group of words that has subject and predicate, which contains subject and predicate, and it makes meaningful sentence. It means it conveys complete senseful sentence. It conveys meaningful message. So it means that we can make meaningful sentences using clauses. So clauses are sentence. So now let's look at them. How many kinds of clauses are there? There are two kinds of clauses. Number 1, main clause, and that could be as independent clause as well. So anybody can say independent clause as well, that is a main clause. And number 2, that is dependent clause. Now let's know one by one both of them. So main clause makes sense by itself. It means it doesn't need any of other sentence. It makes meaningful sentence itself, and it expresses complete thought. It means it gives us or it conveys meaningful, thoughtful message. And now let's see another one, that is a dependent clause. And dependent clause does not make sense by itself. It means that if we are making any dependent clause sentence, then that does not give meaningful message. Now let's see another one. Usually, so independent clause this usually begins with a subordinating conjunction, a related pronoun, or some other words that causes it to become dependent. So for adding dependent clauses, we use subordinating conjunction such as which, what, that, who. So these kind of words that we connect with dependent clause. And another point, a dependent clause will make sense only when attached to an independent clause. So this thing you have to keep in mind. If you are making sentence independent clause, there you need the help of main clause. Without main clause, you cannot make dependent clause. If you are making dependent clause but it will not give meaningful thought, so that you need to understand what are difference between both of them. Hopefully that you understood these types or kinds of clauses. Now let's continue to know about some examples so we can understand clear. So mhm. Let's look at here. These are examples. Let's understand through them. I know the man who stole the watch. I know the man. That is independent clause because it does not depend at another sentence. So it can make sense itself. Who stole the watch? But it needs help of independent clause. If we are using this sentence, we are making this sentence, then it will not convey thoughtful message. So who stole the watch? That is dependent clause. And another example that you are looking here, he does not know where he was born. So he does not know. He does not know, that is independent clause. And from where, that has been started another sentence, the another clause, that is a dependent clause. So where he was born, that is depending on independent clause. Then it will convey meaningful sentence, and then it will convey that thoughtful message. So hopefully that you understood. Let's see another one. I know that he cannot do it. I know. I know, that is independent clause. And another one that you are looking, that he cannot do it, that is dependent clause. So hopefully that you understood these clauses. How can we make clauses sentences? Now in further I'm gonna ask you here and you will answer me and you will think about these, what clauses are being used. Okay, you need to recognize and you will identify that underlined clauses you will identify which one clause is that. Now let's see first one. The teacher who lives next door to Rob is Mrs. Johnson. So who lives next door to Rob? That is dependent or independent? What do you think? It is depending to another sentence or not depending? That you need to think. Then you can answer me. The teacher who lives next door to Rob. So It is depending. That's why it is dependent clause. So it is depending on the teacher, Mrs. Johnson. That is a Mrs. Johnson. That's why it is dependent. When sentence is depending at another sentence, that will be dependent clause. Now let's see another one. Our dog will run away if the gate is left open. Our dog will run away if the gate is left open. So our dog will run away, that is dependent or independent? Think. So it is independent. It means it does not need any kinds of help from if the gate is left open. If we are not using this sentence, even though that will make complete senseful sentence. Now let's see another one. So second one, that is independent. Number 3, because of heavy rains, the school will be cancelled on Thursday. So the school will be cancelled on Thursday. So it is depending or not depending? Think about it. Have you thought? Okay, I'm gonna tell it. It is independent because it is not depending to another sentence. Another one. This is the homework assignment that you missed last week. That you missed last week. So this is dependent or independent? Yes, of course. That is a dependent because it is depending on first that this is the homework assignment. On this sentence, that is depending. That's why that is a dependent. Now let's see another one. Number 5. The movie was good, although it was too long. So what do you think about it? It is dependent or independent? Yes, of course. It is independent. It is not depending to another sentence. Now let's see another one. Victoria heard what her sister said, but she ignored it. What do you think about this? Is this dependent or independent? So think. Victoria heard what her sister said. So here you are looking subordinating clause because of that. That is one kind of dependent clause. So it is depending. Number 7. The moon shone on the ocean while the whales rose to the surface. While the whales rose to the surface. It is depending or non depending? What do you think? What do you think? Dependent? Independent? The moon shone on the ocean while the whales rose to the surface. So later on that you can see, okay? Number 8. At the end of his class, Jim walked to his locker where the coach was waiting. At the end of his class, Jim walked to his locker. So is that dependent or independent? So these sentences I'm not telling to you. You observe and find out later on. There we will find the answer. Now I'm going to open all answers for all of them. Okay, now you got these answers. Identify whether the underlined clause is a dependent or independent clause. Now let's see, check them. First one, that is dependent. First one sentence, that is dependent. Number 2, that is independent, that our dog will run away, that is independent. Number 3, independent. So independent, school will be cancelled on Thursday, that is independent. Number 4, dependent. So let's find out a dependent sentence. That you missed last week, it is dependent to the sentence, that's why it is dependent. And the movie was good, that is independent. So number 5, that is independent. Number 6, what her sister said. So that is dependent. Number 6, that is dependent. And number 7, the moon shone on the ocean while the whales rose to the surface. So it is depending or not? Yes, it is depending to other sentence. That's why it is dependent. And another one at the end of his class, it but it is making meaningful sentence and giving us meaningful or thoughtful message. That's why it is independent. It doesn't need any kind of help of other, so it can make itself meaning. So hopefully that you understood how can we use phrases and clauses. So bye bye, take care, and keep learning, keep smiling. Bye bye, see you again.